Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star sports podcast presented by Underdog. I'm Blair Kirchhoff. Vahe Gregorian is here, Star columnist. Hello, Vahe.
Hi, Blair. Good to be with you.
Good to see you, my friend. Typically, when we have our conversations, we're either in the Star's office, the studio at the Star, or if we're doing it remotely, we're at our homes and speaking to each other over Google Meet or Zoom. But today, a little different. We're sitting in the men's locker room at Lionsgate Golf Club.
And we should clarify the closed men's locker room, which is very acoustically, fundamentally sound for us. There's no one else in here. So it's just the right theater for our audience.
But here's a locker. That's a locker here. We might get an intruder or two walking through here, but we'll carry on the best we can. Why are we here?
We're here for an event. It's in a sense a bittersweet event, I guess I'd say, right? Because we're here for ALS Association, and Blair, you've gone to this event, I think, every year since it started, like 40 years ago, maybe a little fewer.
It's been a long time.
But a long time, and it's intended as a fundraiser and for awareness for the horrendous disease of ALS. And we've made this an annual thing. We come and get to talk with Tom Watson and George Brett, particularly about their own connections to ALS through dear friends in their lives and their ongoing fight. And every year they sort of make the point that they hope this is the last of these because the cure will ultimately be found. Unfortunately, we're a long ways from the last of these.
Exactly. And I think the complete title, or the title does include Joe McGuff. It's the Joe McGuff ALS golf tournament or golf event, however they describe it. But, Joe McGuff, the former columnist, editor, executive editor of the Kansas City Star, who died of and in his post-newspaper career was part of the Royals ownership group.
Yeah, and Blair, you knew Joe. I never had the privilege, but I certainly know him by reputation, and one of the ways I know him is by way of Tom Watson and George Brett speaking of him over the years, and the admiration they had for him as a journalist, and but also as a man who demonstrated the spirit we see in so many people that suffer from ALS.
So in the moment, we have these convergence of events. The ALS golf tournament today is happening. Also, it's on Lou Gehrig Day in baseball. The Royals don't play, but they wore the number 4 patch yesterday in their loss to the Tigers at Kauffman Stadium. The other thing that I think about was this was Big Slick Weekend in Kansas City. So the big event on T-Mobile Center on Saturday night that raised, I think, $4.5 million, with Jason Sudeikis and Rob Riggle and Eric Stone Street, just all-star Heidi Gardner, all-star cast of, Kansas City favorites who devote their time and energy to this wonderful event. And the reason I bring that up is before Big Slick, the big event that supported Children's Mercy Hospital was Tom Watson's golf tournament. It was a one-day exhibition, basically, where Tom would invite 3 of his, compadres from the PGA and some years the LPGA, and that raised money for Children's Mercy Hospital. So, speaking of convergence of events.
Let me interrupt really quickly and just say what you've just listed to me is so striking when you think about these people who are perhaps the best known Kansas Cityans, including in the entertainment world and the Mount Rushmore of athletes with Tom Watson and George Brett. What that says about the give back to Kansas City in general, I think it's very striking and my goodness, that the Big Slick started with a poker tournament that Paul Rudd, Rob Riggle, and Jason Sudeikis wanted to put together, and they hoped to raise $50,000. It's now approaching $30 million over these years. Sorry for the interruption, but I just wanted to interject that point.
No, I'm glad you did. It's a great thought, and I don't know if this happens in other markets. I really don't. I hope it does, to some extent, but it does make you feel good about Kansas City, knowing it happens here. And I've seen it displayed, the big slick on on CNN, on NBC, and so it is a big event.
Yeah, for sure. It's anyway between that and Watson. I mean, to have these people that are the most prominent people that people know of, including Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. All right, so back to our regular scheduled programming.
Yes, and speaking of, I like to do the speaking of transition, big events.
Or so it seemed.
Tomorrow, the Royals play in St. Louis. So the Royals are 31-29. They're over 500, amazingly, with this lineup. The pitching has been sensational, as we saw this weekend, with the pair of 1-0 games that the Royals split with the Tigers, dropping that series. But there'll be a new Royal in the lineup on Tuesday at Busch Stadium. Jac Caglianone is making his major league debut. Is this happening around the time you thought, a little earlier than you thought?
Well, great. That's the essence of the real question. It is earlier than I thought, and frankly, it's earlier than the Royals wanted to do it. And I'm not, using some double secret code here. I mean, J.J. Piccolo, the general manager, in mid-April said the worst time to bring him up would be when we're not scoring. Because of the spotlight it'll put on him, because he's going to be perceived as a savior anyway, even if they're scoring. But now it's can you do it right away? And all eyes will be on him in a different way than they would if you're just sneaking him into the lineup, batting seventh in August. And yet, it's a fascinating dilemma because nothing's happening offensively. They're not getting any better, and they've been doing more with less than anybody, but it's still way less, and it's looking inadequate. I mean, like they're going to squander this amazing pitching if they don't do something. So if you look at the toolkit of things they could choose from, this is pretty appealing. On the other hand, is he really ready? And and because it is sooner than they wanted to do this. They wanted him to play more outfield. They wanted him to develop his understanding of pitch selection better.
Right.
There's a lot of reasons to feel like this is just worrisomely ahead of schedule.
Right. And before we continue, and I'm sorry it's taken so long to get into this, you and I are talking about the Jac Caglianone call-up. We're going to have two guests later in the show who will have something to say about this. Two people that are remarkably qualified to speak to an occasion like this one. George Brett and Tom Watson at the ALS Golf, the Joe McGuff ALS Golf event, spent probably 2/3 of their media time speaking to this very topic and sharing thoughts about their earliest experiences. George, of course, had a direct comparison, his major league debut, but even Tom Watson was able to share some thoughts about his early influential moments.
Yeah, Tom, and what's kind of neat with that is that Tom, as you know, is one of the biggest Royals fans there is, and of course was at spring training and met Jac Caglianone. And but you're right, their wealth of parallel memories to this sort of situation and the wisdom of their years to look back at this, it was pretty great for guys like us who've been around this for a while. That was as enlightening a conversation, I think, as you'll ever hear about the mind game in it. And best of all for us is that the media was just you and me and Dominic Williams from the Star. So Star exclusive.
Yes, it is, and I can't wait to hear it. You'll hear it with us in a few minutes, but you and I are going to babble on for a couple more minutes about what Caglianone has accomplished so far this season in the Royals minor leagues. I think it's 50 games.
I think it's 49. I saw 50 reported, but it was 11 and 38 as I read it. So,
but I thought they had stats for 11, which didn't fold in Sunday, which would have made it 12 games.
That must have been what happened.
With 38
Yeah.
At any rate, we have about a 50-game collective on him.
Yeah, I think you're correct. I think that's what happened. It wasn't updated when I was doing it.
So some of the talking points when it comes to Jac Caglianone is that, first of all, he's a free swinger. And we know this through his numbers in Omaha. This comes courtesy of Sam McDowell's column today. Please read it. Very, very good to have written a column as comprehensive as Sam's. Basically, after in a couple of hours after learning Caglianone was being called up on learning that on Sunday night. Great stuff by Sam. But from his column, we glean that Caglianone swings at 55.8% of his pitches. That's while he was in Omaha, and only 10 players in the majors have a higher percentage of swinging at pitches, and that includes Salvador Perez.
Of course it does.
He has swung at 24 pitches out of the strike zone, and in those plate appearances, he went 1 for 9. On pitches he swings at in the strike zone, he hits 394 with 5 home runs. And you add that on to the total numbers at AA Northwest Arkansas. He had 322 with 9 homers and 43 RBIs. He's also, penciled in, I think, for right field. So those are some of the key points for Jac Caglianone. Free swinger. I don't know if we're going to see that right off the bat, or will he be a little more nervous, and which might lead to maybe a little hesitation? I guess we're all wondering.
Yeah, and it's a great question. I think one with no answer but what we see. I mean, because there's really no way to know. I think, there's some interesting questions to be asked about why he's a free swinger. I mean, to what degree that's just who he's been, to what degree he's expanded his strike zone just because he's not getting much to hit. I mean, Sam probably broke those numbers down deeper. But the flip side of all this is the question of his own sort of mental health's the wrong term, but I mean state of mind, mental strength, and how he's going to deal with what surely will be some early challenges and failures no matter what. I mean, that's just going to happen. I don't think he's going to come up and hit 3 home runs in his first game or even 3 base hits. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. That'd be something else. But I had the opportunity to spend some time with him at spring training and some time with him in Northwest Arkansas. And what will strike anyone that's around him is how earnest he is, and how that, I think, funnels into how committed he is to stay in a learning mode. One of the things he's been doing is keeping notebooks of conversations with the likes of Alex Gordon and Bobby Witt Jr., and he just kind of keeps filling up these notebooks and going back through them when he's met with some resistance to what he wants to do. We will hear from George Brett and Tom Watson soon. I had meant to actually ask George about specific conversations he had with him. I'm sure he has had those. So his composure is next level. His talent is next level. Putting all that together through, this next level is what we're going to be, so fascinated with and processing for the weeks to come. But there's got to be some effect when you're going to be the guy in the spotlight, the way it's going to be. And let's face it, he was the talk of the organization coming into the season, even after their first postseason in 9 years, and with 2 Cy Young finalists and a MVP runner-up. People have been talking about Jac Caglianone. We're finally going to get to see.
Yeah, and like I said, we think he's going to get placed in right field. He's been working with Rusty Kuntz on his outfield. He wasn't an outfielder at Florida, obviously.
But he was in high school.
Right.
And it bears mention. I mean, if nothing else, just that he's not unfamiliar with angles and spins and such. And so I think there's a foundation there that's maybe better than what we think. He's going to have at best average speed. Maybe he's not quite too below average, but I think we'll see that he moves better than you might think for 6'5", 250.
And our beat writer, Jalen Thompson, speculated that he'll be penciled in at 6th in the lineup. That seems about right. Won't be among the first 3 hitters when the Royals, play at St. Louis on Tuesday.
Yeah, I think that's right. What's the Seinfeldism, Blair, about getting a C? It's like not showing off, not falling too far behind.
right in the meaty part of the curve.
I think right in the meaty part of the curve. I think that's about right. I would flinch if they put him at, cleanup or in the top 3.
And why is he here? Well, a couple of reasons. The Royals are averaging 3.23 runs per game. Last year, in their 86-win playoff season, they averaged 4.54. That's less than a run a game fewer this year. And they're on pace to hit 100 home runs.
Yeah, they've got 34, I believe, which is 9 fewer than the second lowest team in baseball. Think about that.
That's amazing. And last year, they hit 170.
Yeah, and so, look, those are pretty much the defining traits. And really, this is true. I think this stat is probably held true forever in baseball, but the difference between scoring 4+ runs a game and 4- is 25 wins.
It's amazing.
It is.
Yeah. It is amazing. So that's what the Royals are. And somehow the Royals are 2 games over 500 going into this game. That's how great the pitching has been this year. Yeah,
it has been great. And think about this from the get-go. You've got the 2 Cy Young finalists returning, and then the guys who have performed best are basically back in the rotation for the first time. I mean, Chris Bubich has been there before, but he's leading them in ERA, and then the spectacular Noah Cameron. We'll see how that unfolds, but they've gotten better than they were last year overall, and the back end of the bullpen is substantially better.
Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll go directly to the conversation that basically, Vahe, you had with Tom Watson and George Brett. But you asked most of the questions. The thing is, you didn't have to ask many because they wanted to talk about this.
Yeah.
They were basically having a conversation between themselves on Jac Caglianone.
That was sort of my favorite part of it, was that we got to see how well these guys know each other. They're sort of in a finish each other's sentences mode. It really interesting rhythm in their conversation.
Can't wait to hear it.
Take a swing at picking sports this baseball season with Underdog. Playing on their app is as easy as choosing higher or lower on players' stats. Get them right, and you could win up to 1,000 times your money. Sign up today using promo code KCSTAR to get a gimme pick as a part of your first cash entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus credits when you deposit. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
I was very, very impressed. And not only was I impressed, I'll tell you what happens in spring training. The first 5 innings of the game, everybody has to go. The pitchers, if you're playing, because you play every team, and so they want all the pitchers to watch the first 5 innings. Half of them don't watch the first 5 innings of the game, and then they're free to go. Well, Jack would sometimes start a game, or let's say he came in the 5th inning, and normally in a spring training game, you get everybody kind of sitting in the dugout, and like when I played, we just had a dugout. Now there's a dugout, and there's all these benches, and guys sit on benches, and guys that are sitting in the dugout, they're not watching the game. They're just back there playing grab ass and stuff. All I know was every time Jac Caglianone came to home plate, not only was everybody on our team on the railing watching, but everybody on the other team was too, because they've heard so much about this guy. And he had a great spring. And he had started off great in AA, doing great in AAA. And somebody asked me what I was doing tomorrow night, and I said I'll be in the backyard grilling steaks, watching Jac Caglianone get his major league debut in St. Louis. I am so excited for this kid, and he's a nice kid. Tom had a chance to meet him in spring training. And
what were your
special?
Yeah, what were your impressions of him?
First of all, he's tall.
Big.
He had infectious smile, manners. The one thing he said, and this is not bragging, he said, I expect to be up at the end of the year. That's what he said.
Yeah.
I expect to be up at the end of the year. Well, what is it, June
June 1st.
June 1st?
No, June 2nd. June 2nd.
June 2nd. He's up. He's up June 3rd. And, that's, it's a lot like golf in a sense. So you look at these up and coming golfers, they can't miss golfer. Rory McIlroy was one of them. Rory came on the scene and he lit it up like this. The one thing about George can address this better than I can. It's a long. The season is a long season, and when you come up with a lot of fanfare, how does that affect you? You got the microphone in your face every
Sure.
game like this. How does that affect your preparation? That's the one thing. Your mind and your preparation. That's the only warning thing I would say to Jack is just the preparation. He's been here. He's been in baseball, but now he's at the show, and it's about the preparation. It reminds me of Bull Durham when they give Nuke, when he's giving him the advice of how to answer the questions, to the press, and at the end there, he's up there and he's saying everything that Costner told him to say like that. But in reality, there's a lot of pressure on him, and it's going to see how he deals with that type of pressure.
We've had guys, Clint Hurdle, when he came up,
Sports
Sports Illustrated, before he's even played one major league game. You had Bo Jackson, all the pressure on him. Bo was used to pressure, being a standout at Auburn University, Heisman Trophy winner. Well, this guy's had a great college career also. And the first round pick in last year's draft. It's not like he's coming up and he's hit 250 or 275 in the minor leagues. I mean, he's tore up AA, he's tore up AAA, and so he's ready. Now we just got to get him to calm down a little bit and try not to do. I mean, he's got unbelievable power. We all know that, but now he's got to just try to control his swing and not try to have more power. If that makes sense.
Well, just like you said, you said you never tried to hit a home run.
No, I never tried to.
And Charlie Lyle,
a home run comes as a result of a good swing.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
The harder you swing, I mean, what did Stan Thirst tell me? What did he tell you?
Yeah.
Every time I would play with Stan Thirst, Tommy's pro that taught him how to play golf at Kansas City Country Club. George, when you learn to swing easier, you'll learn to live with the added distance. He would tell me that every time I played with him.
Exactly.
And I played with him once a year, twice a year maybe. I mean, that's it. He's going to come up. His first home game is going to be against the New York Yankees. Oh my God. It's going to be 38,000 people there. He's going to get a standing ovation. And now he's just got to step back a little bit and don't try to do more. Try to do less. You see what I'm saying? You got to breathe. Breathing is really important in golf when the pressure's on.
And the other thing,
he's got to breathe.
Yeah.
And I'm going to remind him that. Breathe. Keep breathing.
And the other thing is that how do you integrate yourself with a team as a guy coming up for the first time?
Yeah. The guys
How do
on
you
this
do
team,
that?
the guys on this team are going to welcome him with open arms. They've had a chance to meet him in spring training. They all got along with him. This team is so closely knit. They have such great camaraderie and a great culture in the locker room that they're going to try to make it as easy as possible for him tomorrow in St. Louis. I mean, those guys will have their arms around his back. Come on, let's go, dude. You got this. Just be yourself. It's no different than what you did in AA, no different than what you did in AAA.
That's a lie.
Well, it is a little bit different, That's
what they say about but you come in, when they ask you you're playing in the U.S. Open and the guy
It's no
says,
different
this is
than
no different than another guy. That's BS. It is different. There is no pressure. But again, you get down to, Jack Nicklaus said this. We had Captain's Club meeting at Muirfield. He said it's all about preparation. You have to really work and do your absolute best in your preparation before you go out on the show. At bat, on the golf course, that preparation, you beat people with your best preparation. And this is, I don't know how you prepared, for for 162 games plus another 20 in the World
Maybe,
Series.
yeah.
I mean, how did you prepare each day for that? I had a routine, but my routine was pretty much the same. I didn't vary very much from my routine.
No, I never varied. I tried to have a short memory. I never got too excited when things were going good and didn't get too down when things were going bad.
Yeah.
And every at-bat was at one at-bat.
That's it.
It's one at-bat.
One pitch.
One pitch.
Yeah.
Pitch by pitch. One at-bat.
Same
I didn't
thing.
go up there saying I'm 2 for 2. I went up there, I got to get a hit. I'm going to get a hit this at-bat. I'm going to get a hit this at-bat.
Every
I'm gonna see the
at-bat's
ball
a new
and
at-bat.
I'm going to swing.
Yeah.
See the ball and hit it. No fundamentals involved. I would always, like when you go to the range, you're getting loose, but you're also working on little fundamentals. Once you started your round, or once I started the game, I never thought about a fundamental. I just thought about seeing the ball. Your mind can only do one thing at a time.
That's right.
And if you're not concentrating on seeing the ball, if you're thinking about where your stride is or where your hands are,
You're done.
you're not going to see the ball. It's like watching TV and you watch it and you're reading the ticker tape. You're not doing both. Because if you're reading the ticker tape, you can't hear a word they're saying. And if you're listening, you can't read a word they're printing on the bottom. So that's basically the same. When I'm playing really bad golf, okay, I got to do this. I got to no, just put the ball in the ground and swing. And if I play bad, guess what? I got to go to the range and work on my swings. Is that pretty basic with you too?
Same.
Yeah.
Every shot is a tournament in itself. Every shot.
Yeah.
What happens before didn't affect the shot. What's happening, what I'm thinking about in the future, that is certainly is not. Of course, the plan of playing the hole it does, but the future doesn't. It's that one shot that you're trying to make. You visualize it, and you hit it.
Did you ever play golf with Jac Caglianone? You know Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I play golf with Jack once in a while.
played with Jack.
He'll hit the worst shot in the world, and he gets up to his ball and he goes, "Oh my God, look at this! Oh, tough lie. I got a hook. Oh man, I love this shot. I got this shot." And he would just talk himself into hitting a good shot all the time. Talk himself into it.
You were mentioning this earlier, and trying to figure out the exact parallel for you, Tom. But there's a clear line of parallel with you and Jack, the call-up moment. And we were talking about when you got the call-up and the feeling of arriving in Chicago. Not as much fanfare, I guess.
No fanfare. Nobody ever heard of him before. I got here and this 20-year-old kid. I mean, they never heard of me. I never did. I was made the All-Star team in A-League and Rookie League, A-League, and Triple A. But, I wasn't a can't-miss guy,
And so you had to take a cab yourself from the airport to Chicago?
It's not going to be like, it's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
Jack probably will fly with the team today. They probably told him after the game yesterday. He probably came to City today. He'll fly with the team. They'll put him in the hotel, whatever. But when I got to Chicago, I flew from Omaha to Chicago. Got off the plane. I had a royal bag with all my baseball equipment. I had a suitcase with all my clothes. We were on a 4 or 5 day road trip from Chicago. We were going to Minnesota. And I jump in a cab from O'Hara. I go to Comiskey Park. Never been to Chicago, never been to Comiskey Park. I said, I'm going to Comiskey Park. The guy drops me off. How do I get in the stadium? I don't have a ticket. I got a royal bag. I'm walking down the street at 5:30, trying to get in the stadium. Hey, I'm just got called up by the Royals. Oh yeah, you got to go around the corner. And all these guys are getting ready to walk into the stadium, and here I am. It's a little bit different nowadays. It'll be a lot easier for Jack to get to the stadium tomorrow.
Do they work out today when they get there? They don't.
No.
This is a
They
day
have an
off.
off day.
Okay.
They'll have, maybe if a pitcher has to throw on the side or something, or if guys want to go down and hit in the cages, they'll do that. But they'll, I don't even know what time they leave. They'll probably leave at 4 o'clock today, get in time to go out and have dinner.
When you said that about breathe, and I've heard you refer to it before as try easier.
Yeah.
Very counterintuitive for two intense guys. But do you remember the challenge of those very first times in the spotlight for your own selves and how you processed that feeling?
Well, for me, when I was under pressure at the beginning there, it made me go faster. I went faster. And when I went faster, I made mistakes. And I had to learn through a lot of failure, being close in the lead of the tournament. And I had to learn how to just take that breath, this way. And I didn't learn that for a little while, and finally, just walking a pace slower. That helped me. Mm-hmm. Just walking a pace slower, because it was a charge. It's like I could outrun Arnold Palmer. Arnold's a charger. He always took off from that first tee. He was down the fairway. Everybody's following him, and I could beat him. Yeah, back in those days. But I learned how to pace yourself, and when you pace yourself, it's about rhythm in golf. It's about rhythm, grip pressure and rhythm, and I got the grip pressure down pretty well, but the rhythm was too fast. I wanted to get it over with. I wanted to get it over with, and I thought, you can't get it over with. You're in it. You're in the water without a dinner tube, man. You've got to deal with it. And I finally learned how to deal with it. It took me several years to do it, but I finally did it. And then I found something in my swing, like you did with Charlie Lau in your swing, that gave you confidence in your swing. Mm-hmm. Same thing with me. And then it was, it's off to the races.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing how well.
When I had confidence until I had confidence in my swing, I would be on the on-deck circle, and Sparky Lyle would be warming up in the bullpen, and I'd say, man, I hope they don't bring him in to face me. They did. I've already made the out. Other situations, all of a sudden, I started feeling good about my swing. And I'd be on the on-deck circle, and I'd say, I hope they bring him in. I'm going to get his ass this time. I put myself in a position to succeed. When I didn't have my swing, you're driving to the ballpark on the radio. Oh, they got, John Candelaria is pitching against the Royals tonight. I'm going, oh my God. That guy's really good. And then all of a sudden, my attitude changed when I started swinging good and had a lot of confidence. John Candelaria's pitching. Okay, he's got me out in the past. I'm going to get his ass tonight. And you just put yourself in a position, and the positive thinking. And I learned the breathing, and I tried to learn to slow the game down, not speed it up. And that's the same thing Tommy did. He said he'd slow down a little bit.
That'll do it for this episode of SportsBeat KC, presented by Underdog. Thanks to our producers, Randy Mason and Monty Davis, and our editors, Jeff Rosen and Scott Chasen. Tip of the cap to Vahe Gregorian for sharing his insights. And of course, thanks to Kansas City sports icons George Brett and Tom Watson, who were generous with their time. We'll be back soon with another SportsBeat KC, where we talk sports in Kansas City.